February 17th, 2026, council meeting in order. If you'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jason, is Josh on board? Okay. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Ray?
Here.
Dalby?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Davis? Here. Stones? Present. Lane?
Here.
Mayor Richardson?
Present. Jackie, I don't know, you might want to make sure that Melissa gets the budget stuff or the claim. Oh, you already got it? Oh, it's still, okay. I thought maybe it got passed over to you.
Oh,
Okay.
the claims, yeah.
Oh, the claims,
Yes.
yes, yep, we'll get that.
Okay. We are into the session for public comment. If you'd like to make comments on items that are not on the agenda, you are welcome to address the council. Please state your name and your city of residence. We try to limit those to about 3 to 5 minutes. So if there's anyone here who would like to speak, please come forward now. Seeing none, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would wish to pull off the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then we'll have Jake run through those.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Jake, it's all yours.
All right, starting with item D, number 1, resolution setting public hearing for an amendment number 1 to the Emerald Bay Urban Renewal Plan. This is an item that would provide several mutually beneficial amendments to the development and get that project moving again. This did go to the Economic Development Subcommittee last week. Number 2, there is a resolution fixing the date for public hearing, First Amendment to the agreement for Sunstone Investments. This is also tied to Emerald Bay, so it'd be updating the development agreement or having a public hearing to update that development agreement similar to the language in the urban renewal plan. 3 is setting a resolution for a public hearing on proposed amendment number 9 to the Hillcrest / Downtown Unified Urban Renewal Plan. This would be an item to update to allow the use of tax increment financing for a segment of trail and sidewalk along Hillcrest or 6569, 14th Street stormwater improvements, and then IWC facility updates. Number 4, resolution setting public hearing and bid letting for the South C Street Sanitary Sewer Project. This would set that public hearing. This project beyond sanitary sewer also includes sewer lines, manholes, roadway paving, and driveway options. Item E, we've got a number of approval of applications. Number 1 is for amendment for Walmart. This is to update the owners on the application. Number 2 is amendment for Walgreens, similarly updating the owners on the application. Number 3, renewal for Casey's. And then 4, approval liquor license renewal for Dollar General. 5, approval renewal for Wesley Life doing business at the Village. And then temporary license for April's Bar. This will be a temporary license for an event at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church between February 17th and 21st of this year. Item F, G, and H, those are all second considerations of the ordinances that were heard at the last meeting relating to the sign code, requirements of preliminary plats, and procedure for final plat consideration. Item I, resolution naming depositories and setting depository limits. This is an annual item requiring council action. Depositories and the limits are unchanged from last year. Item J, resolution approving the City of Indianola investment policy. This is also an annual item that is updated by council or approved by council. There are no changes proposed from last year. Item K would be designating a portion of Highway 92 as the George W. Carver Memorial Highway in honor of his contributions to the state of Iowa and communities of Indianola and Winterset. This was discussed at the last council meeting, and we are seeing a number of our peer jurisdictions following suit with this item. And then item L is the approval of the Home Base Iowa Initiative application from Mark Crane. This application is complete and complies with the city guidelines. This will be the 7th application for Home Base Iowa this year.
Thank you. Is there any, Mr. Morris, did you want to say anything on the George Washington Carver Memorial Highway project?
Up to you if you want to. If you were considered and needed to know the jurisdictions that have approved it,
That'd be great. Would you mind doing that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. DeMorris Dean, president of Rho Eta Sigma Chapter Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So far, actually today is the last, is my final day of jurisdictions. So far we have Madison Warren County, sorry. Warren County, as well as, I just told you too, so Bevington, Martinsdale, and Winterset. Tonight, I'll be going over to Patterson and just waiting for the approval from Madison County as well, so.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. If there's any other comments on the consent agenda? If not, Jackie, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rabe,
Aye.
Selby,
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Davis. Aye. Stones. Lane.
Motion carries 6-0. On to council reports, resolution opposing the REACH Act. Jake, anything on this that you want to report, or is this something that? Sue?
We have President Stubner with us tonight, who is able to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Sue Stubner from Indianola. Is it, oh, there's no microphone. This is just a cord, sorry. Just wanted to share a few thoughts about the REACH Act. Really here to educate about the impact on public and private colleges as well as our communities. This act proposed bill would allow community colleges further than 50 miles from a four-year public or private Iowa institution to offer bachelor's degrees in certain fields. Before I share a few talking points, I just want to stress that I firmly believe, even though I've spent 30 plus years in private higher education, that the goal of higher education is for students to find the right fit, whatever that path might be. So I'm certainly a proponent of public, private, community college, two-year, four-year vocational. So why should you care about this? First, the bill proposes to allocate $20 million of Iowa state funding to make this possible. Already operating at a deficit, at the core, this proposal is not financially sound for the state of Iowa and the taxpayers. Iowa's higher education model currently offers community college graduates with both four-year public and private education experiences, and there's sufficient capacity across the system to house to enroll the students that they're concerned about. There are no deserts of higher education in Iowa. 26 private colleges and 3 public universities are easily accessible, as I said, to all 99 counties. And there's abundance of different fields for those graduates to study. Nearly all Iowa private colleges, including Simpson, offer guaranteed transfer programs for community college students. And one thing that's not readily known is that private institutions offer a really wide array of financial resources to transfer students, just as they do to incoming first-year students. One of the biggest reasons is that of preserving the four-year degrees is much more effective and efficient use of state tax dollars. The average taxpayer cost per student at Iowa private colleges is $2,001 versus $10,588 at public institutions. A significant reason for this differential is the Iowa tuition grant, which allows students to apply state funding to the institution they feel is the best fit for them. A requirement of the Iowa tuition grant is that private institutions at least double the impact of the grant. To give you an idea of what occurs at Simpson, nearly half of our students this year received $3.6 million in Iowa tuition grants from the state. Simpson College awarded $16.3 million to those same students from our own institutions. Another reason is just that this act, there's no meaningful data. There's a lot of claims being made again about deserts of higher education across Iowa. Many believe the $20 million price tag to be unrealistic given accreditation costs. They want to do this on ground rather than online. They're going to be building facilities, attracting faculty and staff. Just doesn't seem to be prudent from just a logistics standpoint. And finally, Iowa private colleges typically serve as the largest employer and economic driver of many communities. Collectively, the 22 private institutions in Iowa generate more than $1.8 billion in annual economic impact for the cities and towns across the state. This is true of Simpson and the city of Indianola as well. We are the largest employer in Indianola. We have over 70% of our students remain in Iowa after graduation. Just under 1,000 Simpson alum live here in Indianola, and 1,700 live here in Warren County. So this is not pertinent to Simpson, but there are many that fear this bill, if approved, might decimate small rural communities where private colleges are really one of the primary drivers in those locations. We are not concerned that that's the case for Simpson, but we just feel for the other reasons that I've stated, and a healthy Iowa is good for Indianola and the rest of the state. So happy to answer any questions.
Questions for President Stubner?
I know there's not a lot of, like you said, there's no meaningful data around it, right? So it makes it hard. Places like DMAC, those other institutions that offer, have they spoken on why this is wanted? Like, I wasn't able to find a lot on it.
Yeah, that's one of the problems is there's not a real consistent voice of what's the purpose of this bill, other than potentially, I think, to spark community in some of the rural areas. But the infrastructure costs are so grossly understated, and the cost to the state and the taxpayers just really doesn't make sense.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Just comment, 'cause I know, like reading the memo, the economic impact, and I know the data was, being worked on. I'm still trying to understand the legislation a little bit more on what they're trying to do. Is it all 4-year degrees? Is it, 4-year degrees where the jobs are in high demand? So still I feel like there's just a lot of unknowns of what the impact is. And so for me, I don't have enough information to make my decision. So that's kind of where I'm going to be sitting. Because I just don't understand yet all of the things. And I went to a 4-year private school, so
I
what
would
do I have
say
against that? So
we are also puzzled on the details.
I'm kind of with Armstrong on that, is like, there, even just good old Google, there was just nothing out there. So signing as a city, I don't feel comfortable with the information we have. I think you know more about legislation and things that go on with that, but if more information will be to come before that even passes, I just feel like knee-jerk reaction a little bit, just because it's scary.
Sure.
And I'm a huge supporter of Simpson, that I don't want it to go. I just feel like there's just not enough information.
And my
It's not,
number one
not your fault.
No, my number one priority is really just to educate you folks about this bill coming through.
Yeah.
If the resolution passes, great, but really just want you to understand what's being proposed. Gary Steinge, who's the president of the Iowa Private Colleges, for whatever reason, thinks this one has real teeth and legs, and so I trust him quite a bit. And I think it's almost the simplicity of the bill is what's enabling it to move forward. So just wanted you to have some of the facts, so that in your circles, at a minimum, you could raise these questions.
Well, my question, President Stubner, is are they changing the mission? And obviously by going from 2 to 4 years, they're changing the mission or changing the structure of community colleges and what they're designed to do. Historically, they've been designed to provide opportunities in the trades and other things as well. And they've branched out into a lot of other things too, and that's perfectly fine. But I know that there are a number of students that come from community colleges to Simpson to other 4-year private colleges as well. And so again, it's not out there, but I'm wondering, if they're gonna move from a 2-year specialty trades type education to a 4-year education only, does that then start to eliminate a lot of the trades and abilities to provide education for those particular trades that are needed in so many areas? And so I don't have an answer. I don't have a vote here either, but I would tell you that I just think it's something that personally, and to your point, with the fact that it's $20 million now, but to build the infrastructure and everything else, it's gonna be a reoccurring cost. And we've been through this budget process. In fact, that's what we're talking about tonight, is not to do one-time expenses and not do reoccurring costs, because
Right.
this is not gonna be just the $20 million this year. It's gonna be more and more and more as you build facilities and everything else happens here too. So from a fiscally conservative standpoint, some people might say that's true of me or not, but the point is that I can't see it being sustainable for the state in the situation that we're in financially. So that's just my comments on that, and from what I know about what's going on in the state legislature. And obviously, they're being very prudent, or I guess prudent or really fiscally tight with their dollars, because they know they're not in a good budget condition right now. And then to spend that money and then have that reoccurring cost happen every year, it boggles my mind.
So to kind of, oh, go ahead.
And I would like to know what this $20 million is gonna fund and how it's going to be sustainable.
It's bricks and mortar for buildings that don't exist right now in these towns. It's faculty and staff salaries, it's accreditation costs for all the different programs, and they're really looking at health sciences and business and IT, so those are very expensive programs. Yeah, so just pretty much nuts and bolts of building an institution from scratch, because many of these in these communities right now are online versus on ground.
So is this 20 million per university?
No. In total.
I just don't see how.
I'd take the 20 if we could get it, but
I just don't see, I mean, the cost of buildings these days, I just don't see how this is gonna.
yeah.
And I think there's some concern out there, Dr. Steuben, you correct me if I'm wrong, but there have been other presidents of private colleges in the state who have written opinions on this or put editorials out there. You can go on the Iowa College Foundation's website and you'll find information there that will tell you just how much private schools save this state on an annual basis in taxpayer dollars because of all the students that they take in collectively. For those people, this comes up every other year, so you all been in the state long enough to know that the Iowa tuition grant gets a lot of discussion, and the Iowa tuition grant is a real deal for this state because if all those students had to be absorbed by our 3 state universities, this 20 million would be just like 5 cents. I mean, I believe it's like over $100 million a year.
Yeah.
That collectively the institutions save the Iowa taxpayer. So this is, I'm prejudiced, obviously, you all know where I worked for a long time, but it's not just Simpson College, it's the entire private system of the state that could really suffer if this went through, but just my opinion.
And to your point, to President Stuebner's point as well, that there are some small colleges in some of our smaller communities as well in Iowa. I mean, I think of Fayette and I think of, Storm Lake is not small, but it's smaller than we are. And there's, there are a lot of small colleges in these communities, and they are an economic driver. You think of the millions of dollars that Simpson puts back into our economy here. The DMMO wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Simpson College, to be honest with you. And so, that alone puts $12 million back into our economy. And I know that, being the largest employer, you're going to put millions of dollars back in our economy as well. So that's my 2 cents worth, but you folks get to vote on this, whether you want to have a resolution opposing the REACH Act or whether you don't.
So my biggest issue is, as a whole, is this something that should be voted on as a city that we put on city letterhead? Like, is this something that, President Stuebner's give us this information, we present it as a person? Is this something that should be done as a city? That's where my question of supporting facts of why it should be done as a city and not breaking off and, like we always tell people, go to your state legislature, So why do we feel it's important to present this as a whole,
I can answer that, or I can provide some context to that question, council member. I think it goes back to what Mayor Richardson just said, understanding the impact that Simpson has to the city of Indianola, right? And how central they are as a community partner to us as a community, both the people that they employ, the students that stay here after graduation, the sporting events, all of the DMMO, the list goes on and on about how important Simpson is to this community. So if the city were to pass this, it's a resolution of the city essentially supporting Simpson in their endeavor when we have a community partner coming to us and providing that this would be harmful to their activities. That would be the purpose of putting it on city letterhead and passing it as a city, is to really show support for Simpson from the city's perspective.
Mayor, can you help me? How many more iterations does this have to go through before it makes it to final bill?
Do you know if they passed it through subcommittee yet? Do you know where, I
That's
don't know
through
where
the
they
Higher
are on this
Education Committee, and I believe is on the House
docket for
docket.
voting?
Yes.
Okay. So if it has to pass this is funnel week, so it has to pass through a committee in one body or the other to be eligible for debate, okay? So if what President Stubner says is it passed the Education Committee, so that means it is on the docket of the House, which means it is funnel proof at this point in time. So it does have some legs from that standpoint. Most bills drop off that don't have it. Having legs means that it's alive around, they can bring it up and pass it. And so it's important, in my opinion, that we provide, again, to what Jake said, some support here because we're being asked to do so. And that's kind of what the whole situation is. And then we can have our conversations with our state legislators as well and continue those conversations and let them know that, what your feelings are, one way or the other.
I guess where I was going with that is, as they continue to hear from people, this bill can still change.
It can.
We don't know what it's
I
going to
don't
look like.
I don't think generally when it's passed the House Education Committee and there's no amendments offered, you can always offer amendments on the floor. And so people can offer the amendments. It's just a question of whether the majority party wants to accept those amendments, whether it's from the majority party or the minority party. But it can change, and if it does pass the House and goes to Senate, it can change there as well. My guess would be, though, because of the intent of the bill, the only thing that would change is the dollar amount. That, to me, would be probably the biggest thing that would change.
And our biggest fear is any change to a connection to the Iowa tuition grant, because that would impact students across this entire state.
You might know this answer more too. So one thing that I had a question on, which not like a lot of our tax dollars go to this, but there is a portion of tax dollars that go to DMAC directly. So do we have any, anything from them opposite, it's not gonna affect them in the way that it's not gonna take away from what they already offer. It's just that it might offer more to them. So that's where because taxpayer dollars do go, it's a whole like $90 a year when I looked at my statement today, but that's a lot. But because of that, I feel like I need more information. Cause if I am giving a yay vote, I'm speaking on behalf of taxpayers, and I don't know that I can even answer really anything on this.
Speaking on behalf of you and the city of Indianola,
Yeah.
you are. And I understand your position, but I guess it's my opinion, but my thinking is we've been asked by a partner to support them in their endeavors to get this bill changed. And so that's what President Stubner is here tonight to ask us of us. And I personally think that they are a significant enough partner that we accommodate that request.
I 100% want to vote. I'm very analytical, so I'm not having anything. It's really hard for me.
Yeah, and I think that's one of our fears, that this feels like it's flying under the radar and it's so simplistic that it could just go through, and without the taxpayers' knowledge of what damage this would do to our communities and to our institutions.
And that's how I hear it. Again, I'm owning my prejudice up front.
Yeah.
But I would say it gives us a voice on behalf of the city to support a community partner so that if it can forestall it, there might be more information forthcoming.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any other questions for President Stubner? We have a motion, correct? No, we don't have a motion. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution in opposition of the REACH Act.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Abstain?
Davis. Aye. Stones.
Aye.
Lane.
Aye.
Rabe.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
presentation. We are here to now deal with the budget, and I think, Jackie, this is gonna be you, is that right?
It is, I'll just say a couple of words while Jackie gets set up there. We got a number of our department heads here in the audience tonight, who support the conversation, but also willing to answer questions along the way, but really just wanna start off by thanking them. We've been going through this process together for a few months now. We've done multiple iterations internally. I think as most of the community knows, and surely council knows, that there's been the conversations that tough decisions are coming, and ultimately this budget is the accumulation of that and contains those tough decisions. But there's also a lot of positives associated with it, that while we'll get through some of the difficult conversations, the difficult aspects of it, there are opportunities here to further the goals of council, to further the mission of the community. And ultimately what it showed to me is our group of department heads really came together in a very collaborative and partnership manner to bring forth a budget that ultimately is sustainable, puts the city in a good position financially, and is a very strong document and presentation overall.
Going to present the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. Tonight we'll talk about the budget process, the budget highlights, budget overview for different departments, the hotel motel tax revenue distribution discussion, property taxes and upcoming legislation, and then have time for any questions. So the budget adoption process will begin on April 6th, where we have a public hearing for the maximum property tax dollars. On April 20th, there's a public hearing for the FY27 budget, and then the adoption of the budget and our fee schedule. The budget needs to be filed with the state by April 30th. Here's some budget highlights for you. The economic development and tourism payments are all going to be covered fully by the hotel motel tax revenue contributions instead of pulling any money from the general fund. It includes a transition from geo permits to MyGov. It includes a $25,000 investment in police mobile data units. In-state staff training has been added back into the budget for FY27. It includes a COLA and merit increases for our non-union staff. It has the removal of credit card fees and the MGT compensation and benefits study. This study was determined to be a priority of a majority of council members. The budget also includes parking lot resurfacing projects at the fire department and the lease lot, the Highway 65-69 expansion study, replacement of streetlights, engineering services for the Iowa Avenue stormwater and sewer lines, sewer main linings, road and stormwater maintenance, and investment into IWC capital for weight and cardio replacement. The highway expansion study and Iowa Avenue project were capital projects considered among the most important by a majority of council. Our budget serves as a policy tool, an operations guide, a financial plan, and a communications device for us to complete the council's strategic areas of a welcoming hometown, thriving hub of economic development and innovation, resource optimization, and the protection and promotion of public health and safety. In looking at our FY27 budget represented by the yellow bar, this shows that we have lowered our expenses slightly and increased our revenues 3% in the overall budget compared to FY26. This chart compares the revenues of our major funds from FY26 to FY27. The general fund is made up of city administration, HR, internal services, clerk finance, community development, fire department, library, parks and recreation and pool, and the police department. This fund is showing a 6% increase in revenues. The proprietary revenues have a 1% increase. These include our sewer department, IWC, recycling, and stormwater. The special revenue funds include the local option sales tax, trust and agency, tax increment financing, and street department. The Iowa Department of Revenue has estimated a 2.1% decrease in lost revenue for FY26, and that is reflected in the FY27 estimates for special revenues. But the special revenue fund as a whole is showing a 7% increase in revenues. The general fund expenses have decreased about $6,200. Our business fund expenses also decreased. Special revenue expenses have increased due to employee benefit costs. Outside of personnel expenses, the largest expense increases are due to the cost of materials and supplies and equipment. As you can see from this slide, the cost for goods and services has increased more than what cities actually spend in nearly every sector. The cost for cities to provide services to residents, as shown in the black line there at the producer price index, have increased at an even higher rate than other inflationary metrics like the consumer price index shown in blue. These inflationary indexes reflect the economic realities that we faced when we drafted this budget.
Jackie, could I ask you a
Yeah.
question? So the PPI, if you want to back that up one, did you do a calculation on what our statistic is as far
I
as?
didn't, no.
Okay,
No,
I should have asked you that earlier, I apologize.
that's all right.
But I would be interested in getting what we see as our PPI is what's been the percent increase on a yearly basis here. And if we're running in that 8 to 10 or 12% that most of the country is running into, I'd be kind of see where we fall in that if we can. Okay, thank you.
Our budget policy says that the budget is balanced if the cash reserve requirements, the working capital requirements, and the revenue and expenditure requirements of the financial policy has been met. This means that our cash reserve should not be used to finance routine operating expenses. We can use cash reserves to finance capital improvement projects and to offset non-recurring expenses. Our general fund revenues have increased about 6% over FY26. The primary reason for this is our property tax revenues. Our property taxes at 45% are the biggest revenue source for the general fund, followed by transfers in at 26%. Our proprietary funds transfer money to the general fund to pay for our internal services. The transfers in also include the transfer from our special revenue fund, the trust and agency account, for employee benefits. Our intergovernmental is revenue from the GEMT program, IMU, the school resource officer reimbursement, and township taxes for fire and EMS services. This accounts for 12% of our revenue. 9% of our revenue comes from charges for fees and service, and that includes fees at the brush facility, park and rec event fees, ambulance fees, and community development fees. Use of money and property revenue at 3% comes from rent of facilities and interest earned. Licenses and permits are permits issued by the community development and clerk's offices and accounts for 2% of our revenue. Other city taxes is the hotel motel tax revenue and is also at 2%. And then 1% of our revenue is miscellaneous sources such as donations, refunds, fines, and sales tax.
I'm going to ask one more question.
Yeah.
So the increase in general fund revenue is not because of increase in levy, increase in assessed value, is that correct? Okay, thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, the general fund expenses have decreased just slightly from FY26. Approximately 76% of our expenses are for salaries, benefits, and protective clothing allowances. The remaining 24% is for insurance, legal services, supplies, fuel, vehicle equipment, technology, and miscellaneous contracts for things like mowing, body cameras, and ambulance billing. 57% of our expenses are for public safety, police, fire, and EMS. 19% are spent on culture and recreation. 16% is for general government expenses, including the internal facing departments and things like building expenses and general legal fees. 5% of our expenses are spent on community and economic development. 2% is spent on community and economic development activities such as the hotel motel tax revenue contributions, and then 1% is spent on the brush facility.
Hey, Jackie, just on that last slide.
Yeah.
We're obviously working our way through this. I just think this is something that's really good to highlight when we look at our general fund, which is our primary operating account within the city. As Jackie had mentioned, when you tally that up between public safety and parks and recreation, that accounts for 76% of our general fund expenses. I think most would agree that public safety is one of the core services that folks expect from our community with police, fire, and EMS. And then on the parks and recreation side, which also includes our library, those are our primary amenities that we have to offer to residents and visitors in this community. And ultimately, we have a budget before you that highlights and accentuates that we were recommending to give over 3/4 of our dollars to those amenities, which I think really perpetuates that we are focusing and really honing in on the core services that the city offers.
MGT recently completed a staffing study of our non-public safety departments. Of our peers, Clive, Marshalltown, Newton, Altoona, Pella, Grimes, and Norwalk, we have 51 full-time employees, excluding public safety, which is below the median amount of 70.5 employees. In FY 26, 33 employees work in the departments that make up the general fund. The remaining 18 work in public works. The proposed FY 27 budget includes 48 employees, with the general fund seeing a reduction in staffing numbers.
I want to make one question or a comment here. So, would you go back one more slide, please?
Yes.
There we go. So, what you're saying, and I understand this, but I just want to kind of reiterate this, is that we have been lean in staff for a long period of time, and that we are asking our staff to do as much as some of our peer communities do with much more staff. Just want to make sure people understand that in the community, that we have operated lean in this city for years and years and years. It's not changing. In fact, it's going to get a little leaner with the budget we're looking at here. And so we just have to be cognizant of the fact that we do ask a lot of our employees, and that they perform very well and make the city run very well. But we are very lean. That's just a point I want to make.
During the budget process, we identified our non-reoccurring general fund expenditures. That amount was $112,500. It includes the airport contribution. We're in year 5 of 5 for that, for $50,000. It includes geo permits license that we need to keep while we're transitioning to MIGA for $7,000. The applicant pro licensing for $5,500 while we transition to Tyler. The PD mobile data units, year 1 of 2 for $25,000, and the compensation and benefit study for $25,000. Out of this $112,500 non-reoccurring expenses, we need to use $22,500 of that to pull from reserves, and doing so will balance the general fund budget. We've had a lot of critical decisions in order to get to this point.
Absolutely, and just maybe taking a little step back there, I think it's important to provide a little bit of context to some of these numbers. So with the year-end FY 25 budget, we had to pull $830,000 out of reserves to balance that budget, which is essentially dipping into the city's piggy bank. This current year's budget, FY 26, is projected to use $845,000 from reserves to balance the general fund budget. So again, quick math, that's over $1.6 million in the course of 2 years. Of course, we've got a target and a minimum threshold of 25% in our reserves. And frankly, I think it goes without saying that if we continue on this trajectory, we would be eclipsing that in short order. And ultimately what that does is it puts the city's creditworthiness and our bond rating at jeopardy, which again, in the future, when the city decides to borrow funds, we will have to do so at a premium, and frankly puts us on shaky financial grounds. As Jackie had mentioned, what this budget does on the general fund side is it takes us from an $845,000 projected deficit for this year down to a $22,587 deficit next year. You don't make large swings like that without having to make some critical decisions and tough decisions within that process. So with that being said, the first thing that we did when we received this budget after working hand in hand with the department heads is we removed any large capital expenses out of this budget. Ultimately, the general fund is your primary operating fund that produces for the city to fund public works, parks, administration, so on and so forth. We would look at alternative revenue sources, whether that be borrowing or other sources to fund those larger scale capital projects, so they're not competing for dollars within the general fund, which is our primary operating source. From there, between Jackie, myself, and in partnership with all of our department heads, we've gone line item by line item through this budget multiple times. Anywhere that we could trim back, ask questions. We really looked at a 3-year average spend by line item, so as much as we could align our budget numbers with actuals and real numbers, really getting into the detail within each line item to understand exactly what programs, what services, what materials we're providing. All that's to say, though, as Jackie mentioned, 76% of the general fund is people, 24% is non-personnel expenses. So while we heavily scrutinize all aspects of it, we knew going into it that unfortunately we would never be able to balance the budget on programs and services and such alone. With that being said, we also then looked at some of the program reductions that we would have to incorporate within this budget that ties into some of the personnel recommendations that are being recommended as too. So some of the programs that would be reduced within this budget include our flock camera system, which is our license plate readers. Those are transitioning. They were provided to us by Warren County. This will be the first year that the city would be responsible for funding those. We had previously been operating with 12 cameras. Chief Hawkins and his staff had done an analysis to see which of those units have been most productive and put the city in the best coverage position, and recommended reducing 4 of those cameras. So going from 12 down to 8 is one of the reductions that we'd be looking at. I know that we had one of our home-based Iowa initiative applications on tonight. That is our 7th one. It's a $10,000 expense. It's a great program that the city's been able to offer. But again, we're looking at the needs to do versus nice to do. So that's another program that would be eliminated within this recommended budget. We would be reducing parks and recreational seasonal and part-time staffing by over 10,000 hours, both at the Indianola Wellness Campus and in our parks, and looking at our full-timers to pick up some of those duties, as well as corresponding cuts to programs and services by eliminating those amount of hours within seasonal and part-time staffing in park and recreation. We'd also look at reducing our number of mowings in each of our parks annually from 29 to 26. This aligns more so with what we've seen as we've had some drier conditions over the more recent years. However, if we were to get a wet year, we would certainly see some additional growth within the parks, because we are looking at reducing our mowing expenses. There would be reductions to parks and recreation, youth and adult programming. At this time, it's hard to say exactly which programs would be able to stay and which ones would go definitively. The reason for that being is our first effort is going to be to find community partners for us to work with and collaborate with to be able to continue to provide those programs. We're just coming to the realization that if the city is the lead organization or the sole organization, it may not be feasible to continue to provide some of those programs that we have in the past without assistance from different community groups and different other individuals stepping up. As Jackie had mentioned, this budget does utilize a very minimal amount, or recommends using a very minimal amount of reserves, that $22,500, towards that $112,500 of one-time expenses to balance the budget. So we would be using just a small portion of reserves to offset that difference. But ultimately, the largest impact on this budget and recommendation there within is what the impact it would have on our full-time employees. This recommended budget would involve and impact 7 full-time positions within the city. 4 of those positions would be in the police department. We've gotten some of the preliminary results of the study that we had funded through the Center for Public Safety Management. One of their first recommendations that they had shared with Chief Hawkins and I was to reduce our police clerical staff from 6 down to 3. The current structure is that we have an office manager and 5 clerical positions. The recommendation would go to 1 office manager and 2 records clerks. So it would be tightening that staff as well as providing more defined duties and responsibilities for them. The other position from the police department would be not filling the 24th or vacant officer. In conversations with Chief Hawkins, that's a position that we've had some challenges in filling over the years, and just kind of recognizing the different staff that we have in the department. That's one that we would pause on filling at this time, in the benefit of saving other positions and continuing operations and other aspects within the police department. Another position that would be impacted within this recommended budget would be in the communications division. We have previously had 2 staff within communications, our manager and then a marketing coordinator. Through the MGT study that Jackie had referenced, we had found that of our other 7 peer communities, 5 of them had 1 person in communications. 2 of them actually had no people in communications, and we were the outlier there as having 2. So ultimately, again, we look at Aaron and understand that this would be more honing in and prioritizing our communications activity and the great work that division's been able to do, but ultimately just having to refocus our efforts a bit there with 1 less individual to kind of take on some additional things, as well as kind of spread that workload out a bit. The last full-timers that would be impacted would be 2 staff members within the culture and recreation department. The 2 individuals that are positions that would be eliminated would be the member services coordinator as well as the aquatics coordinator. And the elimination and reduction of those 2 positions actually goes quite a bit deeper, and that this would lead us into a much more full integration of the Parks and Recreation Department within the Indianola Wellness Campus. We would move our staff that are currently housed at the Activity Center. Our full-time staff members would move and base headquarters out of the Indianola Wellness Campus. We would really focus on eliminating the duplication of services by having 1 individual overseeing all of aquatics, both indoors and outdoors. And then our Parks and Recreation staff would really split their duties between Indianola Wellness Campus as well as the rest of the parks within the community. The Activity Center would continue to be staffed by at least 1 person each and every day. The activity center, instead of being kind of the headquarters of Parks and Recreation, would become an ancillary facility like many of our others. We would continue to provide programs out of that facility and continue to serve the users of that facility. But again, it would be more in a limited staffing capacity as opposed to that kind of being the headquarters for Parks and Recreation. By making that move and making that transition, we're able to recognize a full integration of the department. It focuses on the elimination of duplicating services and ultimately makes greater and more efficient use of the staff that we currently have. Ultimately, these are the bulk of the difficult decisions that are included within this budget, but they're also the decisions that are necessary to put the city in a financially sustainable position going forward.
Nick, is it fair to say that I've worked under budgets, I think all of us have worked under budgets at one time or another, that we've conservatively budgeted our departments, each department's done their conservative budgeting with the idea in mind that they are to come in under budget at the end of the next year? Is that kind of is that fair to say in most cases, unless there's some really screwy thing happen here in our
We've budgeted on very razor thin margins on this budget. We are conservative in our revenue projections. We're of course confident within those. But again, when we've gone line by line, scrounging every last thousands of dollars that we can, we budget in a way that we think is realistic, and ways that we can meet those. But there is very little room within this budget for wiggle room. So of course, yes, anything unexpected. We do still have dollars for vehicle and equipment maintenance and things of that nature. So we do budget for those. But this is a very tight budget. At the end of the day, especially when we get into the position of having to reduce staff positions, we don't want to leave any room in there because we realize without making this as close as we can, that's an additional person that we may have to tell that they don't have or recommend they don't have a position anymore. So very thin margins on the budget.
Well, where I was headed with that was if, I know department heads do a great job of watching their budgets and where they are. We were asking or talking about drawing 22,500 or something like that out of the reserves. But if we kind of keep our fingers crossed and everything goes as planned, hopefully we'll have some money in each department left over a little bit so that we may not have to draw. I know I'm being overly optimistic here, but
at the end of the day, staff wouldn't recommend using it if we didn't think we would need it.
Yeah.
Of course, we would love to get to a situation where we don't want to have to use any of it.
Yeah.
Frankly, if that was the direction, we'd have to cut something additional to feel more confident
Right.
in doing that. Now,
Right.
again, things can come in under budget. We can have better years of materials and supplies, but at the end of the day, razor thin margins on this budget to get it back to balance. I think on the flip side of that conversation, when we really single out that 22,500, I think what's important to recognize is that the overall non-reoccurring expenditures are 112,500. So really what this means is we're using over $90,000 of ongoing revenues towards one-time expenses or non-reoccurring expenses. What that means practically is when we hit the budget next year, that's an additional $90,000 that will buffer us from the unknowns that are the economy and other forces that we have on our revenues.
right. I was kind of hoping you were getting to that, so. Okay. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to the special revenue funds. These are road use taxes, tax increment financing, local option sales tax, and trust and agency. All of the revenue sources are taxes. The road use taxes have remained flat. The increase in revenue comes from using the employee benefit levy for street employee benefits. The council approved the TIF revenue in December that had a $9,000 increase over FY '26. Like I mentioned previously, Lost has a projected decrease in revenue, and the trust and agency revenues come from employee benefit property tax levy. They have increased due to increased cost in employee benefits and for levying for the street employee benefits. Staff decided to levy for street employee benefits this year to make more funds available for street projects and equipment. The road use tax fund expenses have increased due to the transition to MyGov, increased engineering expenses for projects, and the purchase of a mini excavator and snow plowing equipment. The trust and agency transfers out have increased due to increased costs in employee benefits and for levying for street employee benefits. The Lost Fund is transferring more to the sewer CIP now that the sewer plant construction project is finished. Staff is planning on reducing this contribution in upcoming years. It also includes a transfer out to the general fund for some small repairs to public safety facilities. The city has an increase in TIF obligations for FY '27 to pay amounts in development agreements with Cementech and DRman, and increased transfer out to debt for debt service payments. The special revenue funds overall have revenues that exceed expenses. Our proprietary funds are the business type funds. This includes the sewer, operating, capital, and revenue bonds, the recycling fund, stormwater fund, and the wellness campus operating and capital funds. The sewer operating revenues come from a transfer from the sewer capital fund. The amount transferred in is enough to match the expenses. The sewer capital reserves have been under 20%. The goal this year was to increase the reserve amount and write a new sewer reserve policy based on the financial advisor's recommendations to set the reserve minimum at 25%. Staff will also be recommending a sewer rate increase to match inflation. Recycling revenue comes from ratepayers. The rates increase to cover our costs for recycling fees from waste management. The stormwater rates have remained the same. The revenue is flat from FY '26. Staff has gained a better understanding of the IWC revenues after operating the facility for almost 3 years. Although the revenue projection has decreased from FY '26, you'll see on the next slide that expenses are also decreasing. The IWC capital will see a significant increase due to the capital improvement fee and transfers in from hotel motel tax revenue and the IWC operating fund. Sewer has completed their sledge hauling from the old plant, so that large expense has been removed from the FY '27 sewer operating budget. The sewer capital will not need to transfer out as much to the sewer operating fund this year, so those expenses have decreased.
Is that about 300,000? Is that what that
Yeah,
is?
it was around there, yeah.
Yeah.
Recycling expenses have increased due to our contracted rates. The stormwater has fewer capital projects planned for FY '27, and the IWC has decreased expenses in line with their revenues. They are also planning some capital improvement projects for FY '27 to replace aging weight and cardio equipment. This fund does show a decrease in projected expenses from FY '26, but for FY '27, the revenues and expenses balance. So the main reason for the revenues being higher than expenses for the proprietary funds is the need to bring the sewer capital reserve amount up. With this proposed budget, the fund balances at the end of FY '27 meet or exceed policy except for the IWC. The IWC fund balance has improved since year one, and staff will continue closely monitoring that department's revenues and expenses. The stormwater and road use tax fund have high fund balances. The street pavement management plan and the stormwater maintenance plan will help us to determine what projects to do and draw down those fund balances in the future. This will also achieve one of the goals that council has set for staff. The only fund listed here that has property tax revenue is the general fund. For this budget, we anticipate receiving $225,000 in hotel motel tax revenue and continuing to put $25,000 towards park and recreation. Staff recommends $20,000 to the IWC for capital improvements. We will continue our membership with the Des Moines Partnership and honor the agreements with Main Street and Bravo. The remaining $63,000 will be distributed based on the application process. The process will begin late this summer. Of our distributions, only 20% stay with the city. Local agencies such as Main Street and those that receive funds through the application process receive about 48% of the revenue. 32% of the revenue is distributed to regional agencies like Bravo and the Greater Des Moines Partnership.
Jackie, I just have one comment I'd like to add on to that. So again, as we'd mentioned at the top of this, one of the significant changes in this recommended budget would be to move all of our economic development partners, Chamber of Commerce, Indianola, Main Street, Warren County Economic Development, to be funded out of the hotel motel tax, which is really aligning the revenues and the expenses from a similar pot of funds. You know, one item in here that would be new or different besides that from years past would be the $20,000 to the IWC. That would be a specific contribution into the capital and even more specifically into their weight and cardio equipment. We know that much of the equipment at the IWC is dated. My understanding is much of it is original to the building, and either through folklore or truth, much of that equipment wasn't new when it got put into the building in the first place. So we do know that if we want to continue to maintain the IWC, we need to make it attractive to members, and that comes with improving not only the facility, but ultimately the equipment that's also housed there within. And I'm gonna steal one of my updates from later to note that we had 483 new members that joined in January of 2026. So we're seeing a surge in users. We also retain 75% of our third-party members that had switched over and crossed over. So we're seeing individuals that are continuing to use that facility. We're seeing growth in membership. And ultimately, if we want to not only grow the membership, but maintain the membership, we're going to have to provide a quality service in terms of the equipment that's included in the building, as well as facility upgrades itself.
One of the things that we've always traditionally done in Indianola too is look at the return on investment we give with our community partners and what they return on investment. That goes back to my comment with President Stubner about the fact that we see a significant return on DMMO and our, things that we do fund and Main Street and other things too. So as long as we can keep seeing that return on investment, that seems to make some sense.
How does all this affect the taxpayer?
You have a question?
I had a question. Of these, which of them are required of us?
Indianola, Main Street, and Bravo.
And Bravo, that's a required.
Yes, we have a contract with them, a 2080 agreement.
Yeah.
2080 agreements.
I think the general requirements of hotel motel tax is that half of it has to go towards economic development and tourism, which we are certainly meeting and exceeding.
Thank you. Our consolidated general fund rate is declining by 3%, but the amount of revenue is actually increasing. As the mayor mentioned earlier, that's because of valuations going up. I already said that. The home valuations were reassessed at the beginning of 2025. Our employee levy benefit is increasing by 3%. As a reminder, in FY26, we did not levy for the full employee benefits due to the health insurance premium holiday set by the council. The health insurance fund covered 3 months of our health insurance benefits instead of the trust and agency fund. Our overall property tax levy is decreasing 2% with this proposed budget. This number is not set at this time, though. The council will be discussing the capital needs at the March 2nd meeting. An increase in the debt levy will impact the total property tax levy. And although right now our property tax levy is shown to have a decrease for FY27, homes that saw an increase in valuation may see a slight increase in property taxes owed to the city. For example, my home did increase in value, and that means a $76.31 annual increase in property taxes with this proposed budget. That's less than what we spend going out to eat for our family of 5. For my family to enjoy the parks, the library, and the pool for a year and be able to rely on public safety when needed is only $4.75 per day.
Jackie, I would just reiterate the fact that we had, I believe, no increases in premiums last year in our insurance, health insurance. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we're forecasting an increase this year.
Yeah, but the fact is that because we're self-funded, we didn't see the 20 to 29% increases some businesses saw with health insurance. Just how important it is that we maintain that fund.
So staff is closely watching a lot of legislation. There's just a few here that I've listed tonight. State Senate Bill 3114 is the hotel motel tax use. They're going to explicitly define tourism development, tourism promotion activities, and the definition of a tourist. And it will also require an annual report be done by the cities. House File 2191 moves city elections from odd numbered years to even numbered years. And it also adds the first Tuesday after the first Monday in June as an available date for special elections for issuing bonds. Instead of right now, they're just in November. House File 2359, it talks about sidewalk liability and clarifies some of those things. State Senate Bill 3068 establishes framework for Iowa's water and wastewater utilities to recover costs related to enhancing their systems. And then, of course, there's property tax reform legislation. The House, Senate, and Governor have all proposed property tax bills. The Iowa League of Cities have been working with all three to help develop a bill that reforms legislation, but does not have as big of a negative impact on cities.
I would say on the sidewalk liability bill, we have discussed that here. I don't know, and just make sure that we understand that we have some liabilities here, and this is needed to make sure that that liability is shared as it should be equally with the landowner at that particular time too. So not equally, but it's shared. So the point is that that bill has passed both committees in the Senate and the House. There's a companion bill, I believe, in the Senate, so it's final proof. The other ones with study bills, those have to be passed this week or they are gonna be dead. Well, the hotel motel tax will be funnel proof because it's a tax and that's Ways and Means bill. But the Senate Study Bill 3068 probably would be the same. So those are some things to kind of keep an eye on.
And like I said, there's several others.
Oh,
These
yeah,
just have some financial impact, so. Again, remind you of the budget adoption process. On April 6th, we'll have a public hearing for the maximum property tax dollars. That's the only thing that can be on that agenda at 6 p.m. So our regular meeting that night will begin at 6:15. April 20th is a public hearing for the FY27 budget and adoption of our budget and the fee schedule. And then after that, I'll file it with the state. It does need to be filed with the state of Iowa by April 30th.
Would you explain just for a second the maximum levy and then what may or may not happen with that maximum levy as we set that on April 6th?
So like I mentioned before, for example, council will be talking about maybe levying for capital expenses. If the council wants to go ahead and pass a resolution to do that, we can put that on the property taxes. That would be the maximum amount that we would then ask the public to pay. Council could then still decide between then and April 20th to not do that. And that would be removed. So the maximum property tax is the maximum that we could ever ask for. We cannot raise it after that point, but we can lower it if we decide to.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Not a question, but maybe an ask for Jake, department heads and everything. The razor, the margins, as you mentioned, Jake. When we go into the next fiscal year, to keep us honest here, can we put in like the memo, and I know we already do budget impact stuff, but like, can we have something like not in the budget or something like that to keep us honest for what we choose to vote on in case maybe it's something that isn't in the budget and we lose track of it, or, and I know sometimes we do a really good job too of, you know, some of the projects of like, this is what we were anticipating the cost to be. It's under or it's over, because then maybe we go, not sure if I want to eat that extra cost. Just to keep us honest with the razor thin margins, given, you know, some of the tough decisions that had to have been made. So I just want us to be kept honest for that, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just want to clarify, so when we bring items forward over the next fiscal year, in that financial analysis section of the memo, just say that this is a budgeted item, or if it's, yep, absolutely. That's one of the things that staff is doing now. We'll continue to do that. We'll mention if it's budgeted, and then if it's not budgeted, we'll talk about if we've got revenues to pay for it or what the situation is. But yes, we can absolutely do that.
Good point. Josh, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I appreciate all the work that Jackie and Jake and staff did to get us here. It's been a long road.
Yep. Thank you. Very good point.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned this when you and I had our meeting, but to get from 800 and some thousand to 22 at your first go, I think that speaks to the commitment that all of you have to this community, and I just think that's wonderful. Appreciate all you're doing.
Department heads and the entire staff.
Absolutely.
I agree. I commend you all for the effort that you've done. I do have a question. Can we get an electronic copy of the spreadsheet so that we can sort and filter? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, President. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Are any other ideas? Mayor's report here. I gotta get my.
We still have council
Wait.
things.
Oh, wait, what else?
Receive and file the treasurer's report.
That's what we need to do.
6C.
I had to find my agenda, okay? All right. Receive and file the 2026 Treasurer's Report. Do you have any questions? You're letting Doug off easy again tonight. Take a motion to receive and file that.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further questions? Jackie, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Stones.
Aye.
Lane.
Aye.
Rigg.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Council committee reports. Any committee reports?
I don't have a committee report, but I'm just going to call out our wrestling program. Not only for girls, but boys as well. So Girls State Wrestling, on February 6th, the Indianola Girls Wrestling awarded 2 state place winners. Nora Onimus, she's a sophomore, she placed first in an undefeated season at the 100-pound weight class. That makes her Indianola's second girl state place winner. And then, yes, and what's kind of cool about that is the first state winner for girls for Indianola was Sierra Becker, and she got second place this year as a junior in the 105-pound weight class. I thought that was, we should give them a big congratulations, because that's a feat in itself just getting there, so.
Absolutely.
Boys state wrestling, they actually are taking 13
of our boys are headed to state.
Of our boys are headed to state
tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. So
Wednesday through Saturday at the Casey Center.
If you're a huge wrestling family like
If you're a huge wrestling
us,
family
you
like
know that that's
us,
you know
amazing to
that's
take 13 boys.
amazing to take 13 boys.
And then as a team too,
and
they
then
brought
as
home
a
the
team
dual
too, they
team
brought home the
wrestling
dual
state runner-up
team
title
wrestling
to
state runner-up title to Southeast Polk. So
Thank you. Any other committee reports?
I have a report for SERPTA. We met in January. Significant agenda items were that we accepted the financial audit. We had no deficiencies noted. Highlighted healthy finance, revenues increased by 49%.
Excuse me just a second. I need to apologize for a second. I forgot to have our 2 Mayor's Youth Council introduce themselves.
She's like,
Before they walk out, would you please tell us who you are?
I'm Patrick O'Neill. I'm high school at Indianola.
And I'm Aubrey Ledford, and I also go to Indianola.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I should have had that done from the beginning. I'm sorry, Melissa. I apologize. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
And net position rose 44% from 24 to 25. We'll move forward with getting that all filed as appropriate. Work's underway on the 27 Unified Planning Work Program. Staff will document all the planning tasks and get that moving along. Safe Streets for All, implementation of the grant application covering projects in Adel, Nevada, Newton, and Pella were not funded. The DOT reported $982 million awarded nationally, meaning 75% of applications were unsuccessful. And so they are looking into why that rejection rate is so high and what we can do to change that, because we had our applications rejected as well, and we need to see how we can change that for the projects that our Central Iowa Regional Transportation Office put forward. So with that, that was our meeting in January.
Any other council committee reports? Okay, we'll move on to committee appointments. I don't know if you folks pulled that up. I think there was an email from Jackie sent that we want to make sure we kind of update this and get this going. So I'm just going to start at the top. Bravo, I know that Tiffany wants to be involved with that. So you've talked to Bob already on that?
yeah, I was gonna call him again this week
Okay.
after tonight.
Okay. Okay, so we'll take a look at putting Tiffany on that. SERPTA, Melissa's on there. Ron's the backup. I don't know if we want to make any, Melissa does a great job. I don't know if we want to make, and this is the policy committee, not technical.
I am on there. If anyone else wants to fight me with.
I don't know that you have to fight.
Yeah, I gotta put up a fight. So if anyone has a strong desire, I know Steve has a burning desire to get his streets fixed, as do I, but I just thought I would mention that and throw it out. But if no one wants it, I'm happy to continue serving as well.
Ron, you're the alternate on that. Is you okay with that?
Yeah, well, Melissa and I talked about a month ago or two, hard to tell, time flies, but, she'll let me know if she's not able to,
Okay.
and I'll make arrangements to sit in for her.
Okay. Technical committee is Eric and Jake. We're okay with that, I'm assuming, so, okay. Des Moines MPO, Bob and Melissa both on that. Bob, you're the direct. Melissa, you want to stay on that, or is there anything there you want to move there?
Yeah, the two go hand in hand, so
They do.
I do follow it and make sure that I'm in the know, so if
Okay.
Bob's ever gone, I can jump in. And what gets done there filters down to SERPTA.
Right. E1, 911 board, Aaron, you're on that. You probably make all the meetings most generally, but.
I do.
Yeah. But there's an alternate we probably need to designate. I don't know if, Ron, you're okay with that, I'm guessing, so.
I talked with Ron and
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the alternate.
Okay,
And
perfect.
then I'm gonna bother Chief.
Okay.
And you're gonna tell me everything I need to know.
Okay, so we'll put Steve there as the alternate then, so, okay. Greater Des Moines Convention and Visitors Bureau, that we are just about done with that.
Yeah, we'd only have one meeting left, so it, I mean, it does make sense
We
to,
can pull that off.
doesn't make sense to change anything.
Okay. Landfill board, Melissa and Steve. Steve, I know both of you have talked about wanting to get off. Why don't you explain that a little bit and what your feelings are? I know Jake's been going, and I think maybe that's an opportunity for us to put him in that role as well, but if one of you want to get off.
I would gladly give my spot to Jake.
I kind of figured.
I
you'd say
won, I said it first.
Yeah, I think going forward, it would be, this is one maybe where we look at having a staff member and a council member on
Absolutely.
it. And this is one I would gladly give up my position.
The nice thing, though, what I will say is this: you've done a great job, and I don't know what the learning curve is with that organization. I'm going to guess it's a little bit of a learning curve too. And it'd be kind of nice to keep you on there one more year if you could, and then maybe we can transition somebody else on there. That would be okay too.
That's a meeting that I could even make work, so it doesn't look like it's as much that I could maybe just learn from you and then take over when you're ready too.
If you'll promise to take it in a year, that's on me.
I
That's
just
on
think you dug yourself a hole on
record.
that one. All right, go ahead.
If I might, I believe I had been previously appointed as an alternate to the landfill committee. So what we could do, if you want to get really crazy, is you could appoint Melissa and I as the two primaries, and you could have Tiffany be the alternate. Sorry,
in.
Councilmember Stones and Councilmember Davis as the alternate. That way, you can start the learning process a little bit more formally.
Yeah, what I will say about that is, technically alternates aren't in the bylaws, but we have not
Followed your
finalized bylaws, so
Don't
we
listen,
can
Allison.
put that in there.
I've heard this before.
It's recorded.
No, I'm just saying that we can put that in the bylaws as a request that we want to have alternates assigned. And before we send it off to Brick Gentry to do our review, we have that in there. And we do it the right way, and,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay with all of that then? Okay.
I don't,
Go ahead.
never mind.
Just kidding.
Okay. Ron is now the mayor pro tem then, so we got Steve off of that. I am the Metro Advisory Committee. That's mainly the mayors around the metro area. Warren County Economic Development. We currently have Jake and Josh as an alternate. Is there anything changes we need to make there?
That is one that I do have interest in. If Josh is unable to attend the meetings, I would take the alternate seat.
Josh, what do you think? You okay?
I haven't been asked to attend any as an alternate yet, so I don't know yet. I'm happy to stay on it, but I've not been needed to date.
So is there a possibility that, kind of like, I know that it's not something that we have normally, but maybe put Josh/Melissa on there in case Josh is out of town or something, I can't make the meeting, I don't know what to.
I mean, I don't need to be that bad, Mayor. I think having two alternates seems redundant. If we're not comfortable, I can let
Okay.
Melissa do it. That's totally fine.
Well, I'm okay with you doing it too, but that's all
Yeah,
right.
I'm fine with you staying on there. I just didn't know with your revised schedule if it still worked for you.
Oh, in theory, it stops at the end of this month. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
All righty, we'll leave you there then. Yeah. Okay, the Warren County Emergency Management, mayors are on that as well, but generally other council members too, we have that as vacant. I normally
Mayor,
yes,
I'm sorry, you might not have an updated one. On your
He-
form, you would put, Councilmember Armstrong.
yeah, that's, I was getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
He's already on.
It was in the packet that way, so.
Okay, all right, yes, we're fine, so Councilmember Armstrong is on that as well. North and Middle River Watershed Management Authority, I have to be honest, I have no idea what that is, so.
What is that?
They have not asked me to attend a meeting yet, so
Ah.
if they've had some in the last 8 months, I apologize because I've not been there.
Okay.
This
And,
is back when Devin came and spoke to us,
right,
city manager from Carlisle, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's been any move whatsoever.
okay. Why don't we, can we run that down and find out where we are, what, if they're still meeting and what the situation is with them?
Ironically enough, Deb and I have plans to get together tomorrow evening, so I'd be happy to ask him about it.
That would be great. Let's put this one off until we hear from you, so. Indianola Main Street, is that, or, and am I on an old one here? Because that, still had me and Melissa sharing days and stuff and.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to put.
Okay, well, obviously, we don't do morning, evening meetings, or I have not been involved with that for a long time, and so, we just need to make sure we've got folks involved there one way or the other with an alternate, maybe, or just a member.
Yeah, and as Main Street has evolved, what has happened is, their board transitioned into the
Pillars?
Main Street Board. And they now have pillars, and pillars are filled by volunteers and one of their board members or two, depending on the pillar, and Erica can speak up anytime if I say anything too bad, and Aaron's back there too. And I'm currently on two pillars. But I volunteered for those, and any one of you can volunteer to be on any pillar. I'm sure that they would welcome you.
I'm not on a pillar, I just show up when Erica tells me to.
Okay. Volunteer, there you go.
So,
Same way I show up when they ask, so there we go.
yeah, and you can volunteer for any event, and they think it's pretty darn awesome when we show up to volunteer too.
Well, I hear Ron Dalby's the expert in selling small items of
That light up and.
light up and, yeah.
I heard that they sold out and they're gonna order twice as many this year, Ron, so.
Everyone has a gift, you know?
Okay, all right, so what are we gonna do here? We probably need, Aaron is our board member, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I think we'll just leave it at that, and we don't have an alternate unless we wanna put Bryce as an alternate on that, or do we wanna have Bryce involved?
It's fine for now.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. All right, MIPA planning, that's Bryce and Jake as an alternate for, that's for the community development side of things. Is there anything I'm missing here? Okay, we don't need to vote on that, that's just what we decided, right?
Or would it be appropriate to have them adopt a slate of appointments?
I don't know that your appointments require council approval, so it's not under your list of things requiring council approval.
I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and have a motion, a second adopting that.
Just to, you know,
Just for fun.
It's for fun, yeah.
So moved.
You got a motion, you got a second?
Second.
And no further discussion, Jackie, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Selby,
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
We are through our committee appointments, so, that wasn't so bad. There we go. I put together, the State of the City address. I wanted to, kind of let the public know what we've been doing and where we've been for this last year. And so I've got that. It won't be long here, but you'll have to excuse me while I read because I didn't memorize this, so. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Your time and interest in what's happening in our great city means so much. This evening, I'd like to take a moment and reflect on where we've been, celebrate what we've accomplished together, and share where we're headed next. The year 2025 was a period of significant transition for Indianola and our city departments. We saw former Mayor Stephanie Erickson sworn in as Warren County Supervisor and a new mayor take office. At staff level, we experienced notable leadership changes, including departure of city manager at the end of 2024 and an interim city manager just months later. We also welcomed a new fire chief and navigated changes across several departments. Transitions like these can be challenging, but the city of Indianola continued to advance thanks largely to the resilience of our staff and the strength of our leadership team. One by one, am I ahead of you there? Okay, all right. One of the most pivotal decisions during this time was appointing Doug Byland as a longtime City of Indianola employee and current Chief of Culture and Recreation as interim city manager. Doug doesn't like me to do this, but I am going to say that he provided steady leadership when it was needed most, guiding the organization through our critical decisions with confidence and care. While he humbly credits our employees for the progress made, his resolve was instrumental in keeping Indianola on course. And Doug, thank you again. I certainly appreciate all that you've done. Thank you. Later in the spring, we hired Jake Meschke as our new city manager. Jake has already demonstrated the importance of building strong teams. Under his leadership, we welcome Bryce Johnston as our Community and Economic Development Director, Eric Stevens as our new Public Works Director, and Rob Hawkins as our new Police Chief after a rigorous interview process. These leaders and many others are bringing new energy, innovation, and perspective to the work we do every day, and we are already seeing the results. Yet even in a year defined by transition, the city of Indianola accomplished many great things. We continue to invest wisely in our infrastructure. The West Clinton Reconstruction Project, originally budgeted at $500,000, was completed under budget. East Hillcrest Avenue was finalized, including a new drainage system, turning lane, and was also finished under budget. New traffic signals and electronic improvements were installed on South Buxton Street, and a major culvert upgrade was made on North End Street and Boston Avenue. For the first time in over a decade, all operators at our wastewater resource recovery facility achieved some level of certification, including 2 operators earning the highest level 4 certification. The city's old wastewater treatment plant was decommissioned, with future decisions regarding the property still to come. Under the direction of new Fire Chief Aaron Hurt, storm drains in the fire bays at the Indianola Fire Station were repaired. New overhead doors were installed, and a new ambulance was placed into service at a cost of about $360,000, if I'm not mistaken. The department closed the year with 3,020 calls for service, making a 1% increase from the previous year. The Indianola Police Department, we welcome Chief Hawkins following retirement of former Chief Brian Scheer, who graciously served Indianola for 31 years. IPD secured over $31,000 in grant awards to purchase new dash cameras and a drone. Officers will soon begin transitioning to new county CAD software, which has improved mobile dispatch and records management. Additionally, the department responded to 13,360 calls for service last year. The Indianola Public Library had the busiest year of its 140-year history. The library saw record attendance across all services and programs. IPL staff recently developed a new strategic plan and continues to plan for future expansion to meet Indianola's rising demand. And I hear the Dino Day was very exciting and had a great opportunity for kids there. So the Indianola Wellness Campus continues to serve residents of all ages by offering various opportunities. Staffing restructuring has helped reduce the costs, and a nonprofit group was established through the Indianola Community Foundation to help raise funds for new equipment and facility enhancements. Additionally, the Wellness Campus has welcomed over 450 new members in the first, well, I think you said 480. Was that something about that, right? The numbers are a little shy. In the first 2 months of 2026, these milestones highlight the significant progress we're making with this facility and its impact on our community. Our Parks and Recreation staff partnered with 90 organizations to provide recreational opportunities, programs, and facilities of our community. Throughout the year, we hosted dozens of exciting events, including the Disc Mania Golf Challenge presented by True Bank at the world-renowned Pickard Park Golf Disc Course, the annual Children's Costume Party on the Indianola Downtown Square, and the Mayor's Youth Council Bike Fest, just to name a few. Budget processes were improved and the implementation of new financial and timekeeping software was completed. Because Indianola operates a self-funded health insurance program and prioritizes worker safety, our insurance premiums remain neutral in 2025 thanks to a healthy balance. The city was able to offer 3 insurance holidays and put money directly back into qualified employees' paychecks. This cooperative model was established in the 1990s with Carlisle and Norwalk and continues to serve our employees and our taxpayers well. As the state explores ways to address property tax reform, collaboration like this will become even more important. From information technology and communications, progress was made behind the scenes that included security hardening and security upgrades at facilities, major improvements in the city's IT backbone, and a deferred maintenance study that highlighted important future repairs. The city increased its digital engagement and recently completed a full website redesign to meet updated ADA accessibility regulations for local governments, as well as strengthen media relations and recognition of our communications department at the Iowa League of Cities annual conference. And I believe Aaron has also been, you did a class, if I'm not mistaken, with the league. And in terms of economic development, the city of Indianola continues to grow. Several new businesses were added. We currently have 7 active TIF agreements, tax increment financing projects underway. Community and Economic Development Department issued 199 building permits with a total valuation of over $84 million last year. Final approval was secured for the Community Development Block Grant, where 8 building facades downtown district will be revitalized and a total of roughly $1.2 million in improvements made. Construction is expected to begin this spring. And lastly, the city saw an increase in taxable valuation across all property classes. Of course, again, we'll face challenges this year. Balancing workload, compensation, and employee well-being remains imperative. Our staff can only be asked to do so much, and we must continue to recognize their time, expertise, and commitment. The city of Indianola will continue to be met with budget pressures driven by state-level legislation that impacts our revenues. While police, fire, and EMS are essential services, so too are libraries, roads, trails, wellness centers, recreational opportunities. I sincerely hope the legislature will pursue meaningful revenue solutions for cities that do not rely solely on property taxes. When Iowa cities thrive and can meet the needs of their residents, the entire city or the entire state prospers. With these challenges, I'm confident in our direction. I can say tonight that staff will present a budget for fiscal year 27, which we have seen tonight, that gets us on track for continued balanced budgets. That was the charge from the Indianola City Council, and our leadership team worked diligently to meet it. Will everyone agree on every decision that we've made? Probably not, but compromise really means getting everything we want. It means finding the best path forward that's needed together. I believe that the best of Indianola is yet to come. If we continue to work collaboratively, advocate for meaningful solutions, and invest wisely in our community, our future is bright. Thank you for your trust, your engagement, and your belief in a great city. So thank you. That's my city address. All right, we're moving on. So, community updates. We're getting closer here. So, Mayor's Youth Council will tour the Missouri Valley facility at 7 a.m. on Friday, February 20th. I believe we'll be there about an hour for the kids to have an opportunity to go through that facility. Ribbon cutting ceremony also on the 20th, the Simpsons Gymnastics facility on Friday, February 20th at 4 p.m. American Legion breakfast Saturday, February 21 from 7 to 10 a.m. supports our local police department. You gonna be cooking, Rob?
I'll be slinging biscuits.
Oh, okay, there you go. Friends of the Library Trivia Night on Saturday, February 21 at the Country Club. Still tables available, although I guess I only got one tonight today. I didn't get two, okay. DARE graduation for 5th grade classes on February 25th. Officer Marshall is the instructor. I've been asked to attend and asked to make it engaging for 5th graders. That'll be a challenge for me. Local Leaders Day. Contact Jackie to sign up. March 4th. That's the League's Local Leaders Day. We will meet in Des Moines, go through some training and some discussion, and then we will have an opportunity to go up to the hill and talk to our legislators. We Lift will celebrate their 20th anniversary on March 5th at the Activity Center from 6 to 8 p.m. It's also a fundraiser. Next coffee with the mayor is Friday, March 6th. Is that 9:15, 9:30? 9:30, okay, 9:30 at the Wellness Campus. The budget and taxes will be the main topic. And Jackie is going with me, so. Reminder on council meeting dates, second meeting in March will be March 23rd due to spring break. So those are the community updates. All right, we are on then to approval of the appointment of Gwen Schroeder to the Indianola Municipal Utilities Board of Trustees for a term beginning July 1, 2026 and ending July 1, 2033. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to share my concerns with the appointment. And I know, Mayor, we had talked, but I just want to share my concerns so everybody knows why. So when Gwen was on council, she did vote down 3 people with 0 discussion. So a lot of this is going to be a history lesson for some people because I think the history matters. Out of those 3 people, one of which was Shirley Clark, who has a very similar resume that what Gwen has. So when I talked to the mayor, I'm just curious why she would feel her resume and background is qualified when Shirley Clark's was not. When she was on council, she was here when they tried to remove 2 board members from the IMU board that directly led to state legislation. I'm not sure that's what I want on my IMU board. So I'll keep it brief. There's other things I could go into, but I'm going to keep it brief on the history lesson there on why I don't feel that this is the appropriate appointment.
Thank you. I've had long conversations with Councilmember Schroeder, served with her the last 2 years she was on council. In fact, I talked with her again 2 days ago, yesterday, I believe it was. And to your point about the city council, one of the things that Ron and I and Christina and former Mayor Erickson worked hard to do at the very beginning of that term was to eliminate the executive committee that they put together that was 3 members of the council and the city manager who seemed to make a lot of the decisions. And in conversations with Gwen and also with Heather Hewlin, that it seemed as if they were pretty much told that this was going to be the way to vote and how to vote. Not saying it's right or wrong, and she did cast those votes. However, what I will say is this. In the 2 years that I worked with her, I found her to be very engaged. She told me specifically at that time that she was absolutely, felt like she didn't have a voice and that she was going to move and have a voice that second 2 years that she was on the council. With that discussion also, I've met with the chair of the Indianola Municipal Utility Board a number of times. I appreciate the relationship that he and I have. We're very frank with each other, have had some conversations, and in fact, talked to you again yesterday on the phone. And at this point in time, the individual that is still on the council or still on the board that had some issues with one of the former mayors, in my discussion with Dom, it's that he's okay with that. And so I think that this position, and as I've told other council members too, that I believe that we still need somebody from Simpson that has Simpson College experience on the board and has administrative experience, just like, as you mentioned, Shirley did. She will be replacing Deb when Deb's term ends at the end of June. Deb has similar experiences at Simpson College as well, and also Simpson experience, and I think that's really important. Conversations with the chair of the board, we've talked about different opportunities for different people. In the future, would love to have folks that have HR experience, that have banking experience or legal experience on that board in the future, and so we'll try to be finding folks that we can do that. One of the things that there was a question about why we're doing this so early. One of the concerns that we've had, and when We appointed Paul Craven to that position in August, I believe it was last year, to fill a board position. It was about a month and a half into the term of his office. We're having trouble finding people that want to serve. And so when Gwen came forward and said that she would serve, I thought that it was a real opportunity for us to do a couple of good things. Number one, we have somebody that's interested. Number two, we've got somebody that is willing to show up at the board meetings and have the opportunity to learn from those meetings as sitting on the outside of that, not sitting behind the dais. The opportunity and the staff, the opportunity to have her tour the facilities, both the water, or all three, the water, the electric, fiber, meet with staff, that's the administrative staff as well, start to develop relationships there. And I think this is an opportunity for that to happen. Whereas when you take an office like, I think I had this conversation with Tiffany today, she called me and I called her back, was that, you're sucking from that fire hose the first few months. And so this is a real opportunity, in my opinion, to get her up to speed and get her moving forward. In fact, when I saw Paul a couple of months after we appointed him, I saw him up on the square. We passed each other walking. I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And he said, "I didn't realize there was so much to learn." And so it really is a process. We all know that, being up here in this county, with this board as well. So those are the reasons why I'm moving forward and why I think it's a good opportunity. I respect your opinion on this and understand that, but this is why I've moved it forward and hope that we can approve her tonight.
So I would like to say, as far as her saying she didn't have a voice, when she voted the third person down, she sat here and she said, "I want you to appoint my friend Lori Smith before I would ever consider another person." So she held the mayor hostage to get her friend appointed to the IMU board. So I'm not so sure she didn't have her voice then. She was willing to sit up here and do that. And that led to the dual appointments, the back-to-back appointments. So, if she didn't have her voice, I think she found it that night anyway. And if she felt beholden to just follow along with what was being said, then I think she did herself a disservice and to the taxpayers by not having her own opinion, so.
Okay. Any other comments?
I spoke to you on my questions and they were answered. My biggest, coming from opposite side of things of not really knowing any background like Armstrong just spoke to, but just as an overview in general, the only thing I was really concerned about is that I know it has been hard to fill. I mean, shoot, I ran unopposed. It's not like it's easy to find people to run for anything, but the only concern I had was that on the website, it doesn't really have like an end date, which might be just that I'm used to that in corporate world of, until filled or that. So that's probably more of a policy thing, I guess, of how that works. But that was just the concern that I had. And Bridgerton had said that it's just kind of how that is that if someone comes in and applies, it doesn't really have a close date. So
Yeah, it probably just is based on how it's currently set up. So, certainly, that's a policy decision that the city wants to address. They can do that in the future.
so that was the only concern I had was like, okay, say if someone applies today, does that raise any flags of concern on our end of like, oh, hey, they didn't get a fair shot at it, that type of thing, because it is hard to understand. I mean, on the website, it doesn't really say. Maybe we don't have a policy set for it, I don't know, but that was just one thing that I had noticed, so. I don't know how that all works, but.
We have what I would call an open nomination or open filing period that you can file at any time for any committee opening and board that we have. And as we talked today, that if somebody applies, that they can apply anytime, and we hold those nomination or those applications until the next opening, and then that's when we review them. We call them and ask them. If I'm not mistaken, we do call and ask if they're still interested, and we go forward with that.
So that'll say someone applies from now until whatever, that's something we could call and say, hey, but we do have this. Okay.
And then Melissa and I had a conversation too, and, you know, there's some folks that are interested. There's one particular person that was interested there as well, and, you know, maybe they have a good fit on another committee, maybe planning and zoning or board of adjustment or something else that makes a good fit too. And I encourage people not to just check one box. If you really want to become involved in the community, you know, take a look at some of the different opportunities. Maybe there's different boards and commissions there you can be part of.
My concern is with the lack of communication. We did not put out anything that said we had this opening, we were on this board, and then we just put forward a candidate for nomination when there was someone else interested. And in a time where it is increasingly more difficult to get candidates to come forward, when we do things, we have to be very careful in how we do them. And I think communication is essential and very critical. That's why we have a communication manager, to make sure that we're communicating in a proper and professional way. Some level of communication should have gone out that this seat was open and applications could have been submitted at any time. If you wanted to put that out in December, fine. But some communication should have gone out that we were accepting applications to fill this seat, so that the other applicant that was interested in this seat could have submitted his application. He was under the impression that the term ended June 30th and he still had time.
That kind of goes with what my concern was, but
Jackie, we have a list of our boards and commissions on the website that
Yes,
dates
we do,
in,
and by
so that's
policy,
to
we have
Melissa's
to
point
put it.
about.
Yep, by policy, we have to list the opening 6 months in advance.
But, you know, Melissa's point's well taken.
it's out there, but it's not pushed out there, right? Is that a fair statement? Okay.
I'll just share from the cheap seats, I'll come to the podium, since it was addressed a little bit. The community update, the bi-weekly newsletter gets sent out to the subscribers, as well as the community at large gets made available public on our website, pushed out on social. Every newsletter always include the listicle, the listings of current boards and commissions. The video that includes former Public Art Commission and Councilmember Bob Kling that talks about how to give back. So there is information is included. Could it be shared more publicly? Yes, but I would also need that directive, because as we continue to move forward, that's just another priority that we have to make sure that we set forth. So there are efforts, could always be improved, yes, but we're not doing nothing completely.
Okay, I knew it was out there because I've seen the post that you can go out and look. I'm just saying, I think, like I said, I have corporate black heart, so I'm just like, oh, I immediately think someone's gonna get mad because they didn't have an opportunity. So that's where I see opportunity of maybe that's something that we can put out. I don't know.
Mayor and Council, I do wanna say that, I don't want this conversation, and you all have the conversation you wanna have, but I think it's kind of turning into concern over the posting process, which was followed and communicated well. So if there's issues with the nomination, I don't want this to divulge into concern over how this was shared. Because it was posted timely, it certainly went out in the community update, as Aaron just said, and council members could have sent this out to anybody that they felt interested as well. Policy is vague in this. Essentially, it says that as a nomination is received, the city clerk will forward it to the mayor, which was done, and the mayor has the opportunity to bring it forward. So if there's shoulds and wants and desires for how this is communicated, we can certainly revisit that policy, but I am having a little bit of a hard time with trying to say that the communication is the problem that we're facing right now.
No, and that's not what I was saying. Sorry if that's how that was taken. What I'm saying is, once you said that the process was followed, that's what I needed. So, because that's where I had concern of is there a process? So if there is and it was followed, that's what I needed.
And that's not to say the process can't be improved,
Yeah.
but I don't want the communication or the process to be deemed as the issue in this situation.
Thank you for that, Aaron. Appreciate you stepping up.
Remind me.
Any other comments? Josh, you have any comments?
No, I appreciate everyone's words. I just, I know that we all receive many notifications when there's openings, and I know personally it's a struggle to get people to want to be involved. So I'm grateful that we have people that want to be involved.
Okay. There's no further discussion. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Rabe,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Armstrong,
No.
Davis. Aye. Sones,
No.
Lane.
Motion carries 4-2. We'll move on then to the old business fuel facility resolution terminating a 2080 agreement for the joint fuel facility. Oh, by the way, I did receive a, I think I need to say this, do I not?
Yes, you do, you need to.
I did receive a letter from former Mayor Kelly Shaw that is now in public record. If anyone wants to see it, it's available, so.
A letter
With regard to the appointment.
Regarding the appointment.
Okay.
Old business fuel facility resolution terminating the 2080 agreement for the joint fuel facility. Jake, I believe this is you, is that right? Or is this?
It is Public Works Director Eric Stevens.
There we go. Okay.
I'm Mayor and Council, so this is our opportunity to put a button on, or button up something that we've been working on for quite some time, and that is the fuel tanks that are at the Public Works shop on 6th Street. So this allows us, this resolution, to go through the process of terminating the 28E agreement that we have that's pending, or that's still in play. We had approval from the school district recently to terminate that agreement. And I believe that is the remaining partner that we have on that agreement, because the county has withdrawn already as of their, this has been a couple of years now. So then also the resolution to approve the quote from Unified Contracting for the removal of the tank. So we have a quote for the removal, and then we have the termination of the agreement. Also, the final is the cost sharing. So we have the ability to potentially cost share 4 ways with the other partners, but also with IMU. And we're pursuing that. Right now, we have approval from the school district for the cost sharing, and we're still pursuing the others through negotiations.
Council, any questions for Eric or staff?
I got a quick question, Eric. So when the tanks will be removed, will there be any remediation of any contaminated soil or testing? Or is this strictly just pulling the tanks and filling the ground up?
It would be removing the tanks and complying with regulations from the Department of Natural Resources. So DNR is involved with that, the permitting process of removal. Site has been tested. We have test results from that from a while back. I can't remember the consultant, so I won't say it. Read Terracon, thank you. I needed a phone someone for help on that one. So Terracon did provide test results on that. Their report essentially provided an assessment, but said that if we wanted more conclusive results, we would have to pay a lot of money to have additional testing, so additional wells. Looking at the groundwater and pulling samples and testing those to create a good map of what's happening with the groundwater. But at this point, we don't really have anything that's precluding us from terminating the agreements, removing the tanks, as far as environmental issues. That doesn't mean that going down the road that we could find something or someone could file a claim and action, and then we have to go through a process. But right now, we don't have anything that precludes us. There's nothing that comes up on that says we are in violation of a particular maximum contaminant level or MCL or any constituent. At this point, I believe the report said we were still in that area of compliance, even though there were markers of concern. So with a site like this, you have to expect that they may have had some spills at some point. There may be some leakage. But we don't really have anything conclusive that would preclude us from proceeding at this point.
Any other questions for Eric?
Will there be any testing required after the tanks are removed?
I would have to check back definitively, but I'm not aware of any. I think I'll phone my friend David Mueller Schneider.
Part of, if I may, part of the process will be to have a groundwater specialist on site while the tanks are being removed. They'll do the testing right there, and that will make the determination whether we need to have monitoring wells. But at this point in time, there's nothing indicating that will be, it'll still be on the list, the underground storage tank list database, so everybody will know 50 years from now that there used to be a tank there. But there's no indications, as Eric mentioned, that there is any contamination that we need to be concerned about at this point in time. But it will be tested as it's excavated out of the ground.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? So I need a motion for approving a resolution terminating the 20AE agreement for the joint fuel facility. Do I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any further conversation on that particular topic? Hearing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Davis? Aye. Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Well, then we have a proposal accepting a contract from Unified Construction Services for the removal of the joint fuel facility. I believe we had 2 bids, and this is the qualified lowest bid. So I need a motion and a second on this, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Lastly, I need a resolution authorizing a cost share agreement for the demolition of the fuel facility.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. So we're on our way here, folks. New business, resolution approving brush facility services for 2026. Who's up on this one? Shouldn't have sat down.
I should have put it down there. Mayor, Council, at this point, we would like to continue with what we've had in years past, so no changes to the fee schedule at this point. I know there have been some questions about the operation of the facility, and we've discussed that. The changes on the day would be according to the dates of the pickup and the fall cleanup, and those are listed.
And those will be pushed out as they get closer to those times, I'm sure, by communication.
We've already loaded this, and it's prepped for release in terms of announcements to the public.
Great. Okay. Any questions from council?
Yeah, I've got a few. So it looks like the proposed brush facility fee from 26 to 27 increases 10,000. Is that because of waste management's increase to compost, haul off our leaves?
Correct, for the removal, but also more volume. In the past, we've been pushing to the edge of the facility. That was the practice, to just continue to push as we have that material, as we have volume available. And now we can't really do that so much anymore. So we have a greater volume, but also the increase in the prices of removing the material. So yes, both of those were components of that increase.
Does that also include the cost for the hazard waste, the paints or the bulbs or the TVs that we collect there in those sheds?
As far as the increase, no, that doesn't really pertain to that as far as I'm aware. My recollection, I have to go back and look at the numbers.
If we accept that stuff anymore or not.
Well, we do have monitoring for that facility, for the trailer there, so continued monitoring for whatever's there. Other than that, I don't believe we have anything.
We know what we collected in fees, as far as money that we took in when people were dropping off their waste. I didn't see that in the budget impact
Actual for FY twenty-five was 28,136.
It's on the memo, the second page of the memo. It's kinda hidden.
Fine.
For FY twenty-six. Looks like it's been around 25,000.
So we took in 28,000 for fiscal year 25 and then 25,000 for 26, even though we raised our rates.
We're not done with FY twenty-six though either.
Well, true. I mean,
Is it projected to be in line?
The timeframe we are now, it probably will exceed that.
Yeah, with the spring cleanup, it'll be.
Sure.
Right.
you know, we've for like the spring and fall cleanup, we've increased our recycling rates a few cents to help offsets the cost. I wonder if we could look at doing something like that to help offset the cost of to our residents when they're dropping off a truckload of leaves, right? Just a couple of thoughts that I had when I was reading through this, but obviously something we could look into and explore, but I didn't know.
You wanna put that on the next item, down a couple items on future agenda items, you wanna put that on that? Huh?
I don't know if it helps to explain the context a little bit, but if you go to one extreme, laissez-faire, just hands off, let it go, the facility turns into kind of a more of a toxic facility. And we don't want people dumping things that they shouldn't be dumping, because that happened at one point in time. And the other extreme is we just have it so heavily regulated that you can't really get in without a pass or, So we haven't gone to that extreme, but we're somewhere in between about at least collecting fees and managing it appropriately so we can take care of the services and the operational burden that is associated with it, with hauling in particular.
I appreciate that approach. I think what Ron is, don't correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What you're asking is that maybe by increasing the recycling, I don't know if we have restrictions on that fund or not, but to allow us then to lower a little bit the rates that are there. Let's just put that on a future agenda item if we can, and we'll move on from that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, if I may, with that, I think and feel free to jump in on this too. The challenge you'd run into though is if you raise a recycling fee, you are impacting the entire community, whereas you're not maybe impacting folks who are using the facility. And that's the benefit of a user fee, is those who are using the facility are paying to use the facility. And even within our 27 budget, 73,000 is coming from recycling, which is the vast majority, whereas only 36 is proposed to come from the users of the fee, or the users of the facility. So it's just an opportunity where you're going to, under that model, you'd be increasing it for everybody to benefit those who are actually users of the facility.
Isn't that what we do with the spring and fall cleanup though? I mean, by raising it up cents, I mean, not everyone's throwing a mattress on the curb there in the spring, right? So they're still paying for that service all year long, even though a lot of folks don't use that service, so.
It's less direct, I mean, because we're not necessarily tracking home to home who's putting things out, who's not. The brush facility is more direct impact because you're physically going to that facility and we're seeing their defined uses, but it's a fair point.
Let's just put on the next, we'll put on it for discussion, and we can, go back and forth on what you want to do with that. But our point right now is the resolution approving the facility services for 2026, and so if there are any other questions regarding that, we're okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk, call the roll then.
There's no motion.
Oh, we need a motion, then, don't we? I thought we had one.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll now.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. All right, Mr. Meshke, you're up here on.
Right, just a few items here just to cover quickly. We do have a burn ban in effect for Warren County until further notice due to persistent dry conditions resulting in flammable vegetation coupled with warmer temperatures and stronger winds. We have an exciting event, the Grannies basketball. So the Indianola's Granny basketball team, the Indy Pacemakers, will play our Parks and Recreation staff under the team name of the Indy Playmakers on Saturday, February 28th at Wilder Elementary Gym. The doors will open at 3 p.m. The game will start at 3:30. It is free will admission with all proceeds going to Parks and Recreation Adaptive Recreation Program. So I encourage everyone to go out and see Doug and his team give their best effort. Our
He's like, thanks for the support.
And they're collecting items for silent auction, if I understand.
Yeah, support Doug, support the silent auction. It'll be a fun event, and hopefully no workers' comp or injuries in the process.
Can you repeat the date?
What time is that?
It is at 3 p.m. Doors open at 3 p.m. on Saturday, February 28th, and the games will tip off, I imagine, at 3:30 or however they start.
I love it. If I can't make it, tell me FaceTime.
Depends on when they get their dentures.
And Squirrel's gonna be there.
The website redesign is completed. It's officially launched. So if any member of the council or the public had an opportunity to go and see our website, it may look slightly different than you're used to. It's streamlined, big emphasis on ADA compliance. All the same great information is there, but just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
Okay. As someone that, at my age, I should be technologically savvy, I am not. And I checked out the new website and I have to give huge kudos to you guys that put in all of that work to make that happen because it is so much more user friendly, even for someone that should be really good at using a computer. So I just wanna call that out, so.
We can always take pauses for compliments.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Kudos to Aaron and his team who led that effort. The fire department, exciting week for them. They took possession of a new utility terrain vehicle. This was received through grant funding from Prairie Meadows. The UTV will enhance the department's ability to operate in off-road environments and will also be featured in community events.
That is all, that's your report then, I take it, correct?
That is the report.
How much of it was grant funded?
100% of it, I believe.
It was 27,000, so I think the city had to meet about 6,000.
Very good.
Awesome.
I
We'll
like
take that.
Yeah.
Great job.
Do you have a place to park it?
We do.
Okay, all right.
Right out front.
Right out front, yeah.
It's in Jake's office.
It lives where it lives.
All right, any other items for future agenda items here?
Moving around.
Yeah, I would just like to add, maybe look into, possibly what did a few cents do to adding to the recycling fee do to offset the brush facility cost?
And Jake, I think I mentioned, I brought it up here a month or two ago about the transient solicitation policy we have or ordinance, just to review that. I've had a couple people come forward.
Which policy, I'm sorry?
Transient solicitation, people coming up to your doors.
Yep.
I'm a millennial, I hide. All my kids don't.
Anything else? Okey dokey then. We are going to enter into a closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 2151C to discuss strategy with legal counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent and where its disclosure would likely to prejudice or disadvantage the government. I need a motion and a second. Motion and a second. Clerk, call the roll, please. Steve made it.
Councilmember Davis? Aye. Sones? Aye. Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. We'll take about a 3-minute break here, so you can stand up and stretch.